everyone, thank you so much for joining another masterclass. I'm very happy today because we have one of our founding members at the Board of Experts at the Members Zone, and her name is Carlotta Elle, and she's a certified international kinesiologist and emotional healer. And we're going to talk about a very, very special topic, how to say no. Thank you so much, Carlotta, for being with us today.
Hi, Diana. Thank you so much for having me.
So before we start talking about this topic, I would love to explain a little bit why we chose to talk about this. When we move into another country, we want to belong to that new society. We start saying yes to many, many things at the same time, and we don't really want to do them. As, for example, accepting friendships that are not really in sync to our values, or accepting jobs that we are not really comfortable with, or even the responsibilities that we have in our families or with our friends back in our countries, or here, the people who we brought with us. And we say yes to many things, and we promise so many things that very deep inside we know that are not going to be possible maybe at that moment. But we carry like a very big bag of yeah, I must say responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. And socially we have been told that saying no is rude, or it's not generous, or you're not being empathetic to the other people, or you're being egoistic. So Carlotta is the best person to go to when it's related to these topics. So Carlotta, thank you so much for accepting again to be here. And well, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. So yeah, totally true. I mean, we find it difficult to say no or to set healthy boundaries in every relationship that we have, whether it be with a family member, for example, with a partner, with a co-worker, with a friend. Every relationship should have healthy boundaries, especially when we start a new adventure in life. So if we move abroad, if we start a new job, or if we start a new relationship, because healthy boundaries make every relationship stronger. So obviously, as we know, this is not always the case. There will be people who don't understand where our boundaries end and where their boundaries begin. And those people will try to invade our space, and they will not think about how pushing the limits of our boundaries will affect us. And that's because they feel entitled to get whatever they ask for. But, you know, this is nobody's fault. If someone is crossing our boundaries, and we tend to say yes all the time. So if we struggle to say no to those people, we are allowing them to cross the boundaries, because we learned that it is impolite to say no. In fact, most of us have learned since a young age that if we say no, people may get offended, they may get disappointed as well, they may get angry, and we might think that they are not as open to us as we would like. Besides this, we may feel guilty and embarrassed, because that's the problem. I think, you know, if we say no, we may feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
right?
It is always it's like that. It's we rather saying yes, and then, well, in some cultures we'd rather saying yes and then not appearing anymore than saying no. That's saying no from the first time. Like, since the first time you know that you're not going to be able to to do that thing.
Absolutely. And I think the problem behind not wanting to say no is the fear that others will not like us. That's
not being accepted. Yeah,
being accepted. And that's why so many of us feel uncomfortable with saying no. And those who tend to avoid conflict, or those who don't want to appear rude, and those who also want to please everyone, can mask the fear of not being accepted, as you said, or loved, and they may push, which can push them to do everything they can to earn the affection of others, even at their own expenses. So learning to say no doesn't mean becoming selfish or to become indifferent to others. But by setting healthy boundaries, we are teaching others how we want to be treated. Because this is what boundaries are. They are like invisible walls, and they are there to protect ourselves, our space, our emotions. And when we set these boundaries, we are basically letting others know how we want to be treated and how we want to be spoken to. It is basically a way to set our rules about who can come into our space and what we expect from them. And, sometimes we do things that make others feel better, which is great, even when it's not quite what we want to do. But if helping others and saying yes all the time is affecting ourselves and our life, then saying yes to others means we are saying no to ourselves, to what we really want to do. And I think it's important to remember that we deserve to think about ourselves, because there is nothing wrong with it, and it is an essential part of healing and self-growth. And I think most of us have been taught that we come second, that others come first, and then we come second. But actually, it's important that we have to become a priority. So the stronger we are, then the more we can help others. And being able to say no can make us feel exhausted. Can you imagine saying yes all the time? I mean, to me, it makes me feel exhausted, stressed, or irritable just thinking about it. And some people may think that it makes life easier to just say yes all the time, because it shows that we're nice people, because nobody wants to come across as lazy or uncaring or mean. But saying yes all the time can be definitely exhausted. And if we are constantly saying yes to requests that we don't want to do, we are basically not listening to our own feelings and emotions. And we are letting other people to decide for us. We are allowing others to choose for us. Because if we want to say no, but we don't, we are delegating others to choose for us. Does it make sense?
It does. And also, like other people, and this doesn't mean that the other people are really wanting to have the control of your life and have the control of the things that you're going to be doing. It's not that they are that mean. It is just that you're opening the door for them to behave that way.
Absolutely. There's some people don't know that they are asking too much, but we are allowing them to do that. And we do this unconsciously or subconsciously, in exchange for affection or for consideration and for acceptance as well. But we have to remember that nobody can choose for us. And, we all have done it, I'm sure. We all want to be liked and accepted, and we want others to think good about us, right? But there is a big difference in saying yes to something when we feel it in our heart versus saying yes out of judgment, fear of judgment, because it's like saying, I say yes to you so that you will love me, or I say yes to you so that you will accept me, or I say yes to you so that you will appreciate me.
And I don't know, like maybe you're going to talk about this after, or if not, just let me know. But what happens when you say yes to something and at that very specific moment, you really wanted to do it. And then you say yes openly, completely okay that you're going to do it. But after, maybe you check on your schedule and you are really not able to do it, or maybe you thought about it better and it doesn't feel well anyway. So you already committed with another person. You said yes from your heart, but now you're no longer wanting to do it. How do we do that?
Well, we are allowed to change our mind. Absolutely. So it's important to listen to ourselves. So it's important to, if we want to say yes, then great. But then if we change our minds, and if something comes up and something happens, we are allowed to say, I'm sorry, but I need to reschedule, or I'm sorry, but I don't feel it's right for me anymore. I'm sorry, I cannot help you anymore. I can find an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
We are absolutely, we can absolutely do that. We just have to basically remind ourselves that we have to allow ourselves to do it, because we tend to be so hard on ourselves. And if we think that we say yes to someone, then we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we can change our mind. We can say, I'm sorry, but it doesn't feel right anymore. I'm sorry. It's possible.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right, but it's possible. We can do it.
Perfect.
Yes. So also I want to say that that our loved ones will not love us more if we always say yes, or they will not love us less because sometimes we say no. In the same way, those who don't love us will not start doing so for our unconditional yeses. Mm-hmm. So this is something I think important to remember, because it's connected to this fear of not being accepted, right? So the way someone can understand whether they have a boundary problem is to, I have some examples. For example, if they find themselves saying yes to requests when deep down they really want to say no. If they feel like people take advantage of them or use their emotions for their own gain. If someone questions their own needs, if their own needs are more important than others, if they feel like they have to fix everyone's problems all the time, or also if they resent people for being demanding, if they feel taken advantage of by those around them, if they feel like they are the only person or people who can help. There are those people who feel like they are the only ones who can help. Mm-hmm. And that's why they say yes. If they believe that they have to meet other people's needs before their own. So these are some examples, but there are others. So those who resonate with those examples, maybe it's good for them to check whether they want to strengthen their boundaries.
And you make me think, sorry, I interrupt you, but you make me think of these situations that you just mentioned. Sometimes it is not the external factors that are making us behave this way. Sometimes it is us who are imposing this way of living to ourselves. Like a lot of moms in different cultures, they live for the other people. They deliver whatever they can, everything they can for their family, as you were saying. And they feel extremely responsible of doing more than the impossible just to make everybody happy. It's like a sense of sacrifice.
Yes, yes, I do know many people who are like this, which I think it's amazing, for them to wanting to help everyone. But the most important thing is for them to understand that they are also important, not just the people around them. They have to make sure that they look after themselves. They meet their needs and they nurture themselves. Otherwise, they come, at the end of the day, they will feel tired, stressed, and they might also be angry, because can you imagine always helping others? It can be very stressful. It can be it's a lot to carry.
Yeah,
But
because at the end they feel like no one is considering all their sacrifice or the efforts that they are doing.
yes,
not anything is enough. Anything is sufficient.
absolutely. But obviously this comes from their own limiting beliefs. They may believe that they are not good enough, and they want to basically feel better they are compensating this void by helping so much. But then at the end of the day, they won't feel good enough because they haven't worked on that limiting belief, and where that limiting belief comes from, which might come from childhood or something that happened in the past. So it's good to understand why some of us find difficult to set boundaries or to say no. And when we do set these boundaries, we give ourselves the chance to focus on ourselves and on what will make us happy and comfortable, and to let go of guilt. Because when we say no, we feel guilty, right? And also, it's not selfish to think about our needs first, especially when it means that it will eventually put us in a better position to help others. So there are many benefits of setting boundaries. So the first benefit is that we develop more compassion towards ourselves. So first of all, we are letting others what's okay and what's not okay, and we are following what's right for us, because we are listening to our needs first. Then number two, we learn to respect other people's boundaries. So when we set our own limits, we also become more aware of that others have limits as well. Because I'm sure all of us have crossed someone else's boundaries at some point in our life. I'm sure I did it. I didn't mean to, but everyone has done it, right?
Yeah.
And number three, setting boundaries will lead to better relationships, because we are basically communicating our needs, and we're listening to others' needs as well, so that everybody's boundaries is respected. And then the other point, so number four, is less anger and resentment. So when we because when we let people take advantage of us, we may feel angry and resentful, like I was saying earlier. We become probably self-critical, and we become angry with ourselves for being passive and for being fearful. So when we communicate our needs and expectations clearly, we will feel stronger and more empowered. And just this is liberating. Just, thinking about letting go of this anger and resentment feels great. Number five is that when we set boundaries, we will feel more at peace with ourselves, and we will feel safer as well. Because basically we will beat ourselves up less, and we will stop second guessing ourselves. And another important point is that we have more time and energy to do things that nourish and bring joy to ourselves, basically to our body, to our mind, and to our spirit. Because when we say no to things we don't want to do and to people who drag us down, we say yes to spending time with people who support us or fulfill us, and to activities, so to things that we want to do that are interesting to us, that we enjoy, so that we can be happier and healthier as well. So yeah, these are very important points. And now, obviously, the main part is how to start setting boundaries.
That's what I was going to ask you. And how to start setting boundaries, and who do we start setting boundaries with ourselves or with the others? Because that is also something that we have to deal with. I might be trying to stop saying yes to everything, but it is going to be a very big internal fight with myself, I believe.
Yes, of course. So we first have to learn to understand what we want. Because if you have said yes for 20 years, 30 years, obviously you're not going to change straight away. You have to basically train your mind to start saying no, and why you want to say no, and why you need to set boundaries. And also to remind yourself that you have a choice. Everyone has choices. So, for example, we don't have to continue to be friends with someone who takes advantage of our kindness, or we don't have to work for someone who criticizes us nonstop, or we don't have to stay in a relationship with someone who disrespects us. So it's important to first analyze your situation, to understand who is toxic and who isn't, who is trying to take advantage of you and who isn't. But the most important thing is that we have choices. So we aren't trapped and we are not powerless. And of course, it is painful to end a relationship or to disappoint others or to change job. I mean, it takes time. But if we are in a toxic environment, or if we are surrounded by toxic people, it is important that we recognize that, and that there is always a possibility of change. And it is important to remind ourselves that we need to accept that we will let some people down. Sometimes others will be angry or offended by our choices, even though we are not setting boundaries to be mean or to be difficult. And also, this process takes time. It isn't a quick fix. And the thing is that we also cannot make other people respect our boundaries, but we can control how we respond to any situation that we're living. Okay, so I think the first step is to, as I was saying, to become aware of your own situations and to become aware of your weak spots. So you need to record your responses to any situation where your boundaries have been crossed. And this will help to become more aware of what needs to be strengthened. So if you notice that you aren't setting boundaries consistently, you need to make adjustment. And if you are consistent, writing things down can help to get clarity about what you're willing to accept and how you feel about it. So it's good to have like a journal where you can write things down and to understand the situations that you are experiencing, whether they are positive and supportive or negative and toxic. And number 2 is to get used to making our own decisions. So the first thing we need to do is this, to learn how to make our own decisions. And it's good to train ourselves to listen to our own voice, because when we say yes to people, we are not listening to ourselves, we're listening to other people. So when we listen to our own voice, we understand what we want and what feels right for ourselves. So a simple exercise or trick or secret is to start noticing what happens every time we are about to make a decision, even a simple everyday one. Actually, this is better. It's better to start with this, with a simple everyday question. Imagining then nobody's there with us. So we know that we're not getting judged. For example, one of the questions could be, how do I want to dress today? Simple question. Or how do I want to spend my day off? Or how would I respond to a text message? Or what do I want to eat? So these questions are very simple. And it's important that after we have written the answers to these questions, if the answers are based on what we really want, or if they are the results of other people's expectations. So when we start by answering these simple questions, then you will understand whether, you have listened to yourself or not.
I believe that has to deal with mindfulness, right? Like that is going to make us feel more mindful of the things. When you said, "What do you ask yourself? What do you want to eat?" Sometimes we don't really know what we want to eat. We just know that we are hungry, and
Yes.
and we eat whatever the thing is in the fridge, but we don't really think about the things that we desire in that moment, if it's sweet or salty, or if it's hot or cold.
Absolutely. Yes, it is exactly that. And it's important. Yeah, mindfulness is about being in the moment. So to focus on yourself and to hear what your mind and what your body are saying to you. So yes, I think it's the same kind of concept. So I think number 3 is also a very important point, which is to listen to our body. So when we learn to say no, we first have to learn to recognize the limits of our body. So we were talking about all those moms that are always busy and they do everything for everybody. They must feel tired, I'm sure. So when we feel tired, we will have more difficulty in managing negative emotions and negative thoughts. And that's why it's important to become aware of that. If our body is asking us to take a break, it will be difficult to help someone who's asking for a favor. And when we are tired and we still want to help someone, it is important to understand that we are free to postpone it, like we were saying before, and to offer an alternative so that we can regain strength and we can help others in a better way, in a healthier way, so that we can also feel happier. And point number 4 is my favorite. Okay, so point number 4 is to get used to judgment. So this step is probably the most important one, because as judgment or the fear of being judged is what drives us to please others and to see yes even when we don't want to. So we have to get used to being judged, because no matter what we do, no matter what we say, no matter what we wear, no matter what our choices are, people will always judge, people will always talk, because this is just part of human nature. I mean, we cannot stop that. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
So we might as well prioritize ourselves first, right? So once we realize this and we become aware that we have to make the right choices for ourselves, we can say no or yes with this, and we will be free from judgment. And this is so liberating. When you stop caring about what people think,
sorry, but it is so difficult to stop caring about what people think.
Absolutely, it is difficult. But people have an opinion on everything. So why do we care so much about what people care? What people think, what people say. Especially for some reason we care more about what people who we don't know think. I believe. But because we know that they will talk, they know that they will judge. So at this point, we know that, great. we can just say, I don't care. I want to still be myself. I still want to say no. I still want to do what I want to do, because they will talk anyway.
Yeah, you're extremely right.
Of course, it's difficult. But we have to train our mind, and we have to remind ourselves that it doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter. I do me. I want to be myself. And even though I'm scared, or I'm scared of being judged, I will still do what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's great.
Super right.
Yes. And number 5, which is very important, is the to not be unprepared. So one of the reasons why we struggle to say no is that we often don't know how to do it. Because if we've never done it before, we don't know how to do it. We find it uncomfortable. We find it scary, and we don't know what to do. We don't know what to say. We don't know the right words to use, and to maybe say it properly and nicely, especially when we are so used to saying yes. And I do remember the first time I learned this, the first time I said no to someone, because I didn't know how to say no. I remember I was so rude, because I was so rude. And if I prepared myself before, I wasn't going to be rude to this person. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I was very overwhelmed. All I wanted was to finally starting to say no. And I was rude. Even though it was liberating, I was feeling bad because I was rude. So basically, so we need to anticipate the requests that others may make of us, especially if they are frequent. Maybe in the past we have handled them badly. So in this case, we need to think about that specific pushy person, because everyone has one, and decide with a calm mind what to answer. So if we want to say no, we decide how we are going to do it. We have to imagine the moment, the scene, and decide what we are going to say, how we're going to say it, how we're going to handle it, and really visualize this in our head. Because this step will help us to basically train our mind to say no when we want to say no, as well as to listen to ourselves and our needs. So these are the starting points to set healthy boundaries and to learn to say no. And I want to remark the fact that saying no doesn't mean becoming selfish, even though the word selfish means thinking that you're thinking about yourself, which is not negative. To me, the word selfish is not negative. So it's not about not thinking about other people, but it is about learning to respect ourselves and how we want to be treated. And as I mentioned before, we need to allow ourselves to do the things that we prefer, to decide for ourselves, and reject anything we don't want to do. Because we don't have to do what we don't want to do. And once we will stop caring about what people think of us, and we will learn to say no with confidence, we not only improve our ability to communicate with others, but we also improve our quality of life, which is so important.
And people are going to respect us more, I believe.
Absolutely, yes. Because they will know, even though if we don't communicate our boundaries, but if we let other people know with our behavior that we have set up boundaries, that they have to respect them, they will know.
Yeah, I was, for example, thinking of a boss who's asking you to do many things, and you are already up to here of tasks, and you're, just because you want to prove yourself that you're a very good employee, you are accepting more.
Yeah.
How is this person going to even respect the field or the area or your position in that company when you are always saying yes, I believe that is also counterproductive professionally to yourself if you don't set those boundaries that you were talking about.
Absolutely, yes. Even at work, and I know we want to please our boss, especially if it's a new job. We want to be good. You know, we want them to think good of us. But that doesn't mean that we have to allow them to take advantage of our kindness. We can say yes, and we can also say no. Just because they pay us or we work for them, it doesn't mean that we have to do everything that they want us to do. We are allowed to say no. Yeah. Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And that's very important, and it's true. And the boss will respect the person more.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard to accept that, I know that, you know, it's hard to start believing in that, you know, because so many of us think that we should that it's not polite to say no.
No, well, these are all things that we learned to do, and now they come automatically, but we are still on time at whatever age, whatever situation we're still on time to learn how to do it. And as you were saying, Carlotta, I believe the main earning that we are going to get from all this is, well, first, the self-respect that we're showing. Now that we were talking about respect, we will be respecting ourselves on our wishes and the things that we really like and we don't. We are going to be more coherent, because if I'm saying that I don't like cold drinks and you make me to drink a milkshake and I just want to fit in your group and I drink the milkshake, what a horrible example, but you know.
I get yes, I got
we all get it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, I starting being more coherent with ourselves, starting respecting ourselves, starting respecting others as well, because saying yes, it can be also very like you cannot do it yourself, so I am going to take care of it, that's why I'm doing it for you, because you can't, you don't know how to, or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, those people may think that they are the only people that are able to help, when obviously it's not true. But yeah, that's what happens, and I find it very interesting. And but it's important to remember that we have to listen to ourselves. We can always say yes. We can say yes. So I'm not saying with this that from now on we are going to say no to everything. I'm just saying that it's important to listen, because that's the first thing, to listen to how we feel, to listen to what we really want to do and what we really want to accept or not accept. And based on that, we can either say yes or we can say no. But to know that, so when we say yes, we are happy to say yes. That we say yes just because we feel like we have to, or that we feel like the others will appreciate us or validate us or accept us. We can say no and still be accepted or be loved or be validated.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super happy for this conversation that we had. I really appreciate it. I know that this is going to be extremely useful to everybody, immigrants and non-immigrants, because let's face it, this is a world disease. Like saying yes to things that we don't want to do or have in our lives. This is a disease that we can fix. So thank you so much, Carlotta, for your time and wisdom.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. And I'm very happy that you said yes to this. Grateful too.
Because I really wanted to do it.
Yay! So thank you so much and see you in the next time.